technical difficulty. But anyway, so welcome to my first ever Louisiana fish fry, exploring the state of flavor. That would be Louisiana, which, you know, everybody knows some of the very best flavors come from. And since we are in the midst of Lent, and of course, here in New Orleans, we're very culturally Catholic, we thought we'd kick things off with fish fry. After all, that's the name of the company. But I'm going to start off by showing you all that they do things beyond fish fry, lots and lots of things. Now, I've never done this before. So we're going to have this experiment together because I think everybody who knows me knows that it's unlikely I'd be cooking from a packet. But you know, this is like a little magical packet because in this packet are the celery, the bell peppers, the onions, the garlic, the green, everything that you might be wanting to put into your etouffee goes into this little packet. I've got butter. Reg, everybody, I can hear everybody. Everybody's not muted. Okay, thank you. So anyway, I've got 5 tablespoons of butter. And you know, that's the thing about etouffee. Etouffee is a delicious, rich dish. And so I'm just emptying the packet into the butter. And I'm going to mix it together. And this is the most interesting thing because I've never done this before. So we're all having this adventure together. But I can see, there's this beautiful color. Can y'all see the color in the pot? Everybody sees that well?
Yeah.
Cool. Okay, so we're just going to saute this together for just a couple of minutes. And then this is how simple it is. We're going to add 2 cups of water to this mix, and we're going to add some beautiful shrimp right here. You see the shrimp from the Gulf, beautiful Gulf shrimp. And this is going to cook. It's going to cook quicker than it's going to take the rice to cook. So you just let it saute together. I think that this is in lieu of making a roux. It looks like a roux already. So we just kind of saute it together. And the butter is what makes it good. Now, let me tell you about etouffee, because etouffee is the most classic example of Cajun cooking and how the Cajun language is largely an oral language, not a written language. In France, there is a culinary verb, étouver, E-T-O-U-V-E-R. Étouver means to smother. And so basically, that's the American word for it. So basically, all an etouffee is a dish that we put a lid on and it smothers in its own ingredients, and just all those delicious flavors come together with the lid. So the way the word came to be, etouver, E-T-O-U-V-E-R, if you're not spelling it, it's easy to see how great-great-great-grandmère back in France, she talked about something. Etouver easily goes in one ear and comes out the mouth, etouffee. So that's how etouffee gets its name. And at this point, our etouffee, oh gosh, it smells so good. And this is like a magic thing. I just don't even know. Can you see? I don't even know how they got all those delicious ingredients in there. And I didn't have to chop a thing. And so now we're going to go ahead and add 2 cups of water. And we're going to add our beautiful Gulf shrimp. Now, obviously, I peeled the shrimp myself. And for goodness sake, don't ever, ever, ever buy shrimp and peel them and throw those shrimp shells and shrimp heads away, because that, you see, is where all the flavor is. So I'm going to add the shrimp, and then I'm going to show you and tell you all about the peel. Okay, so the shrimp go into the etouffee. Oh, it's beautiful. You know, that true etouffee, the signature of it is that beautiful buttery color. And so now that we've got all that together, I'm going to put the lid on, and there you go. And in the meantime, You see this? This is a treasure. So even though, because Louisiana Fish Fry has made this etouffee process so easy for me, and I hope you all are cooking this along with me at home, because I'd hate for you not to be able to smell this delicious scent that's coming up out of the pot. But in here, the shrimp shells, the shrimp heads. If I'm not going to have to use a shrimp stock with the recipe I'm cooking, this goes into my freezer. And then it's like I have a savings account. When I'm making a gumbo, when I'm doing something where I do need a shrimp stock, and I just take, you can never have too many shrimp shells and shrimp heads. So I just take all of the peels and the heads out of the freezer, and all of those vegetables that I did not have to cook to cut up in order to cook this etouffee, which would be onions, bell peppers, celery. All of the pairings go into the stock pot with the shrimp shells and shrimp heads. Makes a quick instant stock, happens pretty fast. And so if you want that recipe or any other recipes, feel free to just contact me directly at poppytooker.com. So before we go on to the fish frying part, I have one other little thing that I really wanted to talk with you all about, and that's rice. You know, down here in Louisiana, we hardly eat anything that doesn't have rice included. And I don't understand this converted rice. I truly don't. You know, poor Uncle Ben. I don't know why they didn't think his religion was good enough the first time around and he required conversion. Anyway, down here in Louisiana, where we grow so much of the nation's rice, we eat our Louisiana long grain white rice at every meal if we possibly can. Now, here's how you do it. Here's my pot of rice, okay? That's just the long grain white rice. I put my finger in the pot, okay? The rice goes into the pot until it comes up to the first joint on my index finger. Then, with my finger still in the pot, normally I'd go right over to the water faucet and I'd pour the water in until it came up to my knuckle, or the second joint on my index finger. So what have I done? I doubled my proportion of water to rice, and I didn't get a measuring cup dirty. Now, that's a pretty big deal in my kitchen when I can make every pot and pan dirty faster than you can possibly imagine. So now how do we finish the rice? We're going to bring this rice to a full rolling boil, and I'm going to cheat and put the lid on it now because that's going to accelerate the boiling process. But normally, if I was just here in the kitchen, the rice would go on the full blast off flame, the rice and the water. I don't salt it because so often things are a little too salty. And when that happens, your rice, if it's not salted, acts as a corrector to the dish. That's a great little tip to remember. So the lid stays off until the rice comes to a full rolling boil. When it reaches the full rolling boil, we put the lid on, we turn the fire down as low as it'll go, and we leave it completely alone for 20 minutes. And at the end of those 20 minutes, you take a fork and you can fluff up those beautiful, separate, even grains of rice. So what is the way that you ruin the rice? Well, let me tell you. You lift the lid and you stir the pot. You know you're guilty of having done this. And that's because a liquid, that's the water, plus a starch, that's the rice, plus a mechanical action, which would be you stirring up that pot of rice, equals gluten, which is something that's fabulous in a bread dough. That's what gives you that lovely texture. But it's disaster in a pot of rice, where what you end up with is gluey, sticky rice. So here's my rule. No utensils in the pot so far. First time a utensil goes in the pot is after those 20 minutes when we lift the lid. The fork fluffs up those separate even grains. And then when you're ready to serve the rice, the serving spoon goes into the rice pot, the very first spoon that goes in. So no spoons, no stirring. Don't forget. All right. So now I'll give this another little stir because oh my gosh, it's beautiful. It's beautiful and it's going to be done in no time. This has to be the quickest etouffee I've ever seen in my life. And of course, our friends at Louisiana Fish Fry, they can help you like that with gumbo, with shrimp creole, with barbecued shrimp. They've got a little instant mix for all of that stuff. So just keep an eye out for that in the grocery store. Okay, now it is time to do what my grandmother would call gilding the lily. The lily would be Louisiana Fish Fry's #1 product, the #1 selling fish fry mix in all of the United States. That's the blue bag, the seasoned, crispy fish fry. Now, there's nothing wrong with this all by itself. It's pretty quick and easy, but we're going to gild the lily tonight by turning this into catfish pecan. So I'm going to take the seasoned mix. It's a mild seasoning. It's just very flavorful. It's well seasoned, not hot and spicy. If you like it hot and spicy, Louisiana Fish Fry has a Cajun fish fry that's going to give you that heat you're looking for. So we're going to put that into the food processor. And then I'm going to grab a cup of pecans, so it's equal parts of the fish fry mix and the pecans. And the pecans have been toasted. That's very important. I just spread the pecans out on a tray. I put them in a 350-degree oven. I set my timer for 3 minutes because it doesn't take very long. And as soon as you're smelling something toasty come out of there, grab those pecans out of the oven. You don't want them to burn. But untoasted pecans are missing an enormous part of the flavor. So toast your pecans, don't forget. Okay. So we're going to mix this together until the pecans are coarsely part of the mix. And I'm going to show you how it looks. Here you go, take the lid. Thank you very much. Oh, it smells so good. So you see how it looks. And let me tell you what, this is the secret to, you couldn't just grind the pecans up like this because you would create a nut butter. So it's very important to have a dry ingredient in with it. And that Louisiana fish fry is the perfect answer for that. So here we go. We're going to take that. I'm going to move my pecans. I can get my shrimp. The shrimp shells need to go in the freezer for later. There you go. And thank you very much. Okay. So here is our breading. And we're just going to spread that out on the breading plate. There we go. Oh my gosh, that's going to be delicious. There we go. And now I can move these two dishes over. Oh, that etouffee is looking good. And it's my guess that the longer it sits, the more the flavors will marry and the better the whole thing will be. Okay, I'm going to put this. The rice is going to go on the blast off burner. Oh, goodness. You know, doing these things upside down. Oh, there we go. Always a challenge. And okay, we'll have this one on low. And my able assistant, who you all can't see, will keep an eye on this for me. And when that comes to a boil, you're in charge. Thanks, girlie. Okay, now it's time to start frying. And what we're going to do is I've got a black iron skillet, which is my best friend in the kitchen. And I'm going to add, I had a little oil in the pan ahead, but this dish is what we're going to do with a little grapeseed oil. I love grapeseed oil. The reason I do, you know, you can't ever do anything with olive oil that's heated to a very high temperature. Butter is going to give you grief too, because they both have very low smoke points, which means that they're going to burn and they're going to get a burned flavor to them before you accomplish whatever you accomplish. But that grapeseed oil is just like magic. It can withstand very high temperatures and it's really flavorless. So you're not going to even know by the time we build this sauce that there was any oil in the pan that isn't butter. And oh my goodness, is the butter, how could it be bad with the butter? Now, here we're gonna bread this one in a slightly different way. I'm gonna move my pecans. Okay, so instead of just water, and all of the Louisiana fish fry products, whether it's shrimp you're frying or whether it's chicken you're frying, it's all very easy and you don't need other ingredients. So this, again, gilding the lily. When we deep fry, which we're going to pan fry them really, the next catfish fillets, they're going to come out of ice water, which is what helps make the breading adhere to them. But for this one, this is just an egg that I added about a tablespoon, or actually I just ran a little water in the eggshell. And I'm going to take these beautiful catfish fillets. What pretty fillets these are that I found at the grocery. Now, a word about catfish. Farmed catfish is so widely available, and it is such a reliable, great ingredient. But what I really want to encourage all of you all to consider is searching out wild catfish. You are not going to believe the difference in the fish itself between farm raised and wild. You know, one of the places that the very best catfish has always come from is just down the bayou from New Orleans in a place called Des Amens. It's our mispronunciation. It's really Des Allemands, but we say Des Amens. And what that means is the German coast. When the Germans came here in the 1830s, many of them settled there along that coastline just south of the city. And there, the catfish are so plentiful, it's quite amazing. So the very best catfish that I ever know about comes from Bayou des Amens. Let me tell you something else that's very, you see, it's smoking, so I know we can go ahead and add it. One of the very best things that you'll see when you do get your hands on some of those wild catfish fillets, you'll know they're different from the farm raised because of the color. Wild catfish have a naturally golden yellow, very buttery color, and they taste richer and better than farm raised. But the farm raised are so readily available and everywhere. Here in New Orleans, the only way I know how to get wild catfish is to go to the Crescent City Farmers Market and seek out my buddies, the Fonsecas, who have been wild catfishing on Bayou des Amens for generations and generations. So if you ever can get your hands on the wild catfish, grab it. Now, in this pan, the big secret is to have the nerve. Okay, we need the lid on the rice, and we're going to turn the rice down. All righty. That goes to the lowest setting. Great. The biggest thing you have to remember when you're doing this procedure is to have the nerve to let that catfish cook until it's a beautiful golden color. Right now, we have just about achieved that. I'm going to give it another couple minutes, and we're going to flip it over. And you see this crust has the pecans. Now, let me tell you how originally, now tonight we're making catfish pecans because catfish is so readily available everywhere in the United States. And so I wanted everybody who was going to cook along with me tonight to have an easy time. You see how beautiful that catfish fillet is? It's lovely and toasty brown. So I wanted you to have an easy time being able to find the ingredients. And that is why we sent you the catfish information. But here in New Orleans, you are just as likely to find trout pecan on a menu as catfish or other fish. Any thin white fish is going to work beautifully in this recipe. And this is how the dish came to be. Now, everybody and their brother certainly knows about trout amandine, the famous trout dish that has the Meunière sauce and almonds on top. That is a French dish that's served pretty much everywhere in this country. But you see, here in New Orleans, this is a dish that was born at Commander's Palace. When Dickie Brennan was in high school and his father, Dick Brennan, was managing Commander's Palace with his sister, Ella. And they would walk together from their home in the Garden District to Commander's Palace to go to work. And one day they're walking to work, and Mr. Dick said to Dickie, son, we're walking along, and there are all of these pecans underfoot. Why in the world do we serve almonds when we've got pecans everywhere? And so he went in, and of course, Paul Prudhomme was in the kitchen at Commander's Palace at that time. And he went in and he challenged Paul. And he said, Paul, why can't we use pecan instead of almonds? And so that's how they did it. Now, I've never seen a recipe for trout amandine that has ground almonds actually in the crust. That's one of the secret, delicious ways to do this that makes it so special and different from the other dishes. Okay, so we are just about done. And remember, your fish fillet, and it's just about, you can feel it's firm with your finger, and it's going to continue cooking endothermically for a little bit once we finish this. Okay, so I'm going to call it quits on this beautiful piece of fish, and I'm going to flip it over. There we go. And just a minute while I wipe the skillet out. I'm going to wipe off if there's any oil on the plate. We're going to wipe it off. And then just a minute, I'll be right back. Okay, grab me some paper towel. Okay, just pull. Thank you. All right. So here's our skillet. And I'm going to go ahead and wipe the skillet out. And we're going to continue this dish right in the skillet. All right. Now, a Meunière sauce, okay? What does that mean? Meunière is actually the French word for miller. And so it is said that this dish was an invention of the miller's wife. And that was because originally it would have had a fine dusting of flour on it. And so that's how Meunière sauce originally got its name. Now, this Meunière sauce is so easy to do. And the first thing we're going to do is we're going to add the butter. And it's a browned butter sauce. So any little brown bits that may remain in the pan, no big deal. Now, what I haven't told you all, now that we muted you and you can't talk to me directly, anybody who has any questions, just raise your hand and we are happy to take your questions, your comments. I'm thrilled to have you all here in my kitchen with me on this Friday evening. And so the butter melts, and now watch this. We're just going to whisk. This is the simple Meunière sauce preparation. And once you know how to make this, you are going to be amazed at the millions of delicious ways you'll be able to incorporate a Meunière sauce. So, oh, this piece of fish looks just gorgeous. All right, now this is going to happen really quickly. The butter is going to just start to brown. If you're cooking along with me, you'll note it's the milk solids. You know, some of the recipes for Meunière sauce will call for clarified butter. I don't believe in that. I believe that you just use the butter, the whole butter with the milk solids in it, because that's what helps with the browning of the butter. Okay, and the butter is getting to be just about a toasty color. little bit of brown. And the other ingredients, Meunière sauce is so simple. I'm sure that the original miller's wife didn't have Lee and Perrin Worcestershire sauce, but we're going to add a little Worcestershire. And so now the butter is the perfect color. Do you see the color in the pan? Let me lift the pan up and show it to you. You see, there's that beautiful brown butter. And that's exactly the point we want to get it to. So at this point, we're going to add some Lee and Perrin. And, you know, of course, the recipe calls for generic Worcestershire, any kind that you want. But I'm going to tell you the truth. As far as I'm concerned, there's only one kind of Worcestershire sauce. I never could quite figure out why Emerald thought he needed to make his own. Because after all, Lee and Perrin's been doing this for, I don't know, I think about 150 years. And I'd say that certainly qualifies it. And so then we're going to add the squeeze of a lemon. So we're going to add the juice of a whole lemon into the simple butter sauce. And I always squeeze lemons through my fingers. And that way, if there's any seeds in the lemon, they pop out into my hand instead of into the sauce. Okay. I'm going to mix all this together. Oh, if only you all can smell it. But I'm hoping maybe you're smelling it in your kitchen right now. And then we're going to add some pecans, a whole bunch of pecans, because how could that be bad? So the pecans go into the butter, and they just need to really get warmed up. Oh, that is so pretty. And there you see is the simple Meunière sauce. Isn't that just the easiest thing in the world? It's a beautiful butter sauce. If for some reason you wanted it to be a little thicker, at this point, you could whisk in some cold butter, and that will thicken the sauce a little bit. But here in New Orleans, this is a classic Meunière sauce. This is just how we want it to look. And so I'm going to go ahead and put those pecans on top. Oh, my goodness gracious. Look how pretty. And now we're going to go ahead and we're going to sauce it with a little bit of the extra butter sauce. There's that beautiful Meunière sauce. All righty. There we go. So there you go. Oh, I almost forgot the parsley. The parsley in this recipe doesn't really add any particular flavor, but it certainly is going to brighten the dish up and make it look so pretty. And I've got these crazy scissors. They were a gift. And I just love them because you just chop, 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 and there's no chopping. It just makes for the beautiful parsley garnish on top. And there we go. Trout pecan meunière, just like you'd be served in any of New Orleans' wonderful restaurants, originating, of course, at Commander's Palace. So there you go. Okay, are you ready? Are you ready for part 2? Now, I know everybody's doing this for more than one person, so there's plenty sauce in the pan for everybody. But I'm just going to move this out of the way. Let's put it right over here. There we go. Let me pull out okay. All righty. And now let's talk about frying. And you know, when it comes to frying, I don't think there's any company in the world that knows more about it than Louisiana Fish Fry. And let's have a look at all of the different ways that you can fry things. So, oh my goodness. Well, here we have, I'm going to just grab them from right over here so I can talk about them all. Because there's so many yummy things. So we've already told you that the blue bag, very important. That's the classic and the #1 seller nationally. You can also get hush puppies. There is a special mix for shrimp fry. And of course, this is also great for oysters and vegetables too. This is the Cajun one. If you like it spicy, the red bag is going to give you a little extra spice. Now, this classic fry for people who are living on a sodium, low sodium, or as sodium free as possible, the classic breading mix is the one for you because there's no sodium in it at all. It's just delicious, crunchy, yummy, yumminess. We've got crispy chicken fry, which is a chicken batter. We have a home style, and this is one of my favorites. And I'll tell you what, even though everybody really loves the blue bag, I really like the yellow bag. I guess that's because I'm a New Orleans girl. This is New Orleans style fish fry. And it seems like here in New Orleans, just like we really wanted that little squeeze of lemon juice that went into the Manure sauce, we like a little lemon with our seafood. And that's what's different about the New Orleans style fish fry, is it's got that little hint of lemon in it for you. And then two more that are great favorites, a veggie fry. And then I sometimes just love a thick piece of fish that has a beer batter on it. And here you got the beer batter too. So that's the whole beginning. You know, Louisiana fish fry, they're going to be 40 years old next year. And that's one of the things that I love about them so much, because they are a real Louisiana company. There are so many famous companies in the world who got their start here in New Orleans and then got gobbled up by somebody or another. One of my favorite ones to talk about is Progresso. You know, I use Progresso breadcrumbs a lot. And people will say to me, but you're a cooking teacher. Can't you mix your own seasoned breadcrumbs? Well, you know what? Progresso was invented in New Orleans when New Orleans had one of the biggest Sicilian populations anywhere in the United States. And because, you know, everybody was pouring through the port of New Orleans in the late 1800s. And there were macaroni factories all over what we all know is the French Quarter, who's really kind of the Italian Quarter in the late 1800s and early 1900s. Anyway, that's how I never feel like I have to apologize for not having mixed my own seasoned breadcrumbs, because if it's a company with New Orleans roots like that, well, that's what I am all about. So about this fish fry thing, you know, I know a lot of people are very concerned about frying anything really in their house because they think they have to have a deep fryer. They think they've got to have some depth in the oil. And that's what I wanted to show you all this evening is that that's really not necessary. In this pan right here, and I suppose you can see it, I've got, just about this much oil. We just need enough oil in the pan for the fish to be able to float. Now, let's talk about this fish. And I've got some more catfish. And this, you see, is the Louisiana fish fry way. So if you take your fish fillets and you soak them in ice water, then when you dredge them, here we're going to once again go into this pecan-based mix with the classic, the best-selling fish fry in the United States. I'm so curious about what's happening in the etouffee pot, aren't you? I can hardly wait to taste it because, oh my goodness, it smells good. Now, David Hubble, I know you can be here in 2 hours. This is going to all be gone before you can get here from Mobile. But I'm so glad you're here with us tonight at David Hubble. You know, some of my cooking friends who tune into these classes, they teach me things. And every time I turn around, I'm learning something new from Mr. Hubble. So thanks for being with us tonight. So you see how from that ice water, the fish is picking up just the perfect amount of breading. And it's all nicely breaded like that. Okay. So now we just have to wait for the oil to get hot enough. Now, what is the oil temperature? Let's talk about that. When I am deep frying, I really like my oil to be somewhere between 365 and 375 because the food is going to be cold. And as soon as you add the cold food to the hot oil, it's going to drop the temperature of the oil. So a little bit hotter is always good. And of course, I could pull out my thermometer, but instead of taking the temperature, the other thing that I have really trained myself to do by the eye is it's not ready yet because I already spilled just a little bit in. But if you take just a little pinch of the fish fry and you put it in, when your oil is hot enough, it's going to sizzle and begin to really cook, and then you'll know it's ready for the fish. In the meantime, let's have a look at the etouffee. Now, what's wonderful, but oh gosh, it looks great. And it smells so delicious. It has the most intense, beautiful seafood flavor, seafood scent to it. It's simply amazing. I don't think anybody would believe that I hadn't made this from scratch. So let's see how it's looking. You see how it looks buttery and beautiful? Look at that shrimp etouffee, and the way that the etouffee gravy is just beautifully coating the shrimp. That is lovely. And it was so fast and easy. I can't quite get over it. Okay. I don't think the rice is ready. Remember, we don't lift the lid and we don't stir the pot, but it's getting there. It's almost ready. Okay. Now, about the etouffee, something that I wanted to tell you is that tonight we're making shrimp etouffee, but just as easily, you can buy a 1 pound bag of crawfish tails and make crawfish etouffee. And another incredible little secret is chicken etouffee. Chicken etouffee is widely consumed over in Cajun country, where it's mostly brown, but all you have to do is take some chicken. And you can do it two ways. If you had some leftover chicken, you could strip it off the bone if you had a roasted chicken, and you could turn that into etouffee with this simple gravy. Or you can use some raw chicken. But what I would suggest that you do is maybe cut it into strips, almost make like chicken tenders with it. And then as you stir it in, it'll cook, it'll be tender, it'll be beautiful. And there, so 3 different varieties out of that one little packet. And I'm telling you, I think you all can tell from my genuine surprise, because Poppy's not so much of a packet girl. And that was very beautiful. I can't wait to taste it. Okay, the oil's getting hot. Let's see. Let's see if we're close. Oop, we're very close. I'm going to give it about 2 minutes. Does anybody have any questions? No questions from anyone? Y'all are so quiet and good tonight. Well, I'm very glad to have you here with us. And this is just the first of a whole series of classes we're going to do. So if there's particular things you'd really love to learn, let us know, and we'll be happy to include them in the future. Myself, I'm kind of feeling like an oyster class coming on. While our oysters are still beautiful this spring, maybe later on this fall, this spring rather, we're going to do some magical things, maybe with oysters, but we will see. The temperature on the catfish, on the cooked catfish, the temperature on the cooked catfish needs to be about 130 degrees internally. So, but remember, when you take it off the pan, it's going to continue to cook endothermically. You know, that's what all foods do. That you always have to take that into account, because as soon as it comes out of the pan, it's going to continue to cook. So you just want to do it until it's, I'd say 130 is plenty. And you saw how quick that was. Okay. I hope, let me see. I'm just going to put one little edge in. Let's see what it does. It's perfect. Okay, here we go. Into the pan goes the catfish fillet. And this is going to cook for about 3 or 4 minutes on either side until it is beautiful and brown. And of course, trout, tilapia, what other kinds of fish? Bass, grouper, crappie, all those things that you can get And just little size fillet is going to work just fine. And there we go. And you see it's floating in the oil, but there's just hardly enough oil in the pan to have to worry about the promotion. Because I know that's the thing that keeps people, everybody loves fried food. And it's so often people don't want to give it a try at home. But it's really easy. And our friends at Louisiana Fish Fry make this whole process so easy for us. It's quite amazing. So there, it's just bubbling, bubbling, bubbling. And I didn't turn, if your oil was hot, 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 maybe you turn it down a little bit, but I didn't turn it down because I knew that cold fish was going to drop the temperature just a little bit. And of course, there's a million things you can serve with this. You know, what would be better than to have some fried veggies to go alongside? Or maybe some Brabant potatoes, or maybe a little jambalaya. A little jambalaya will go with just about everything. Let's see how this is looking. Ooh, see, it's gotten very, very stiff. And that's the first thing that you want to see, is that your fish fillet is going to stiffen up. It's cooking on one side. And I'd say in just about a minute, we're going to flip it over and let it cook on the other. Now, I wonder what in the world you'd be having for dessert with this delicious dinner. I'd love to hear all about it. Now, you know, something else that is Louisiana Fish Fry has all sorts of new products coming down the pipe. For one thing, you know, Louisiana Fish Fry is just about as famous for their fish fry mixes as they are for their seafood boils. And they have come out with the coolest thing. You know, everybody in South Louisiana has a different way that they like to boil their seafood. And after all, it's crawfish time, so it's big boiling time in South Louisiana. But they've got these flavor boosters. There's one that, again, is going to give you that intense blast of lemon. There's one that's going to give you a blast of heat, if that's the way you like it. But you be looking on your shelves for those boil boosters. It's something new that I'd never even heard of before. And my buddies over at Louisiana Fish Fry have been sharing with me what's coming down the pipe next. And, you know, there's a couple of other delicious things, too. And I'm going to pull them right out of my refrigerator because they're always here very handy. Oh, well, and now you're going to see how much I use them. The truth is, the cocktail sauce. Oh, my goodness. That's the choice at my house. But this is something that is new and absolutely crazy good. This is called Craven Cajun Seafood Sauce. And it's just a little spicier. It's going to add a kick to it that normally you'd have to add yourself. My big favorite, tartar sauce. If I wasn't going to be putting etouffee on this piece of fried fish, I'd be having some Louisiana Fish Fry tartar sauce because it's my favorite. They also have some new sauces that are just coming down the pipe, including a lemon dill sauce, which is going to be beautiful to mix up a pasta salad or all sorts of seafood salads. Okay, guess what? This fish is just about done. I'm going to give it about another 30 seconds, but it's beautiful. It's brown. And just like with any fried food, you're going to want to drain it on a little paper towel. So I've got my paper towel all ready here. And there's my beautiful finished fish. And oh, those pecans have gotten so beautiful and brown. Doesn't that? Oh, it smells good. I always forget which camera. It smells good. You can just taste and smell those nutty pecans coming right off of there. Okay, so while this fish just drains just a little bit, let's see about how our other experiments have turned out. How about that rice? Okay. Perfect rice every time. Do you see this rice pot? And do you see what I mean? You just fluff up those separate, even grains of rice, and it's perfect rice every time. So I hope, for goodness sake, you all, if you have been suffering from that condition, that American condition, fear of rice, I hope this gets you over it and you just start making real rice at home yourself, because there's nothing like real rice. Okay, and then see how this is going to all look. So we're going to put a bed of rice on the plate. And if you didn't believe me, do you see how separate and even the grains of rice are? And then we are going to slide this beautiful piece of fried fish right on top of the rice. And we're going to finish it with that etouffee. Now, I'm in my kitchen. There's nobody here but me. So that means that I can taste if I want to, because I'm the one who's going to get to eat it. So let's see. Here I have a shrimp. Before I put it on the sauce. Okay. So y'all are interested in a Peloton class, huh? Well, a Peloton class would be happening in the fall when the Pelotons come in. You know, my good friend Lance Hill, he is the savior of the Pelotons. For those of you who may not know what Pelotons are, that's actually a kind of a squash that everywhere else but South Louisiana, they refer to as a choyote. Here we either call it Meliton, or some people call it Merliton. That's how it's spelled, Merliton. But it's a very bland base squash that acts like any other squash. You can combine it into a casserole, and there's just tons of delicious ways to cook it. But you know, Melitons do not like to have their feet wet. And so even though here in New Orleans, prior to 2005, every page fence in the city had Peloton vines growing on it with just a bounty of Pelotons, my dear friend Lance Hill, the savior of the Peloton, he always says that Pelotons make for good neighbors, pecans make for terrible neighbors. And that's because if you have a pecan tree in your backyard, you're going to catch your neighbors jumping the fence and stealing the pecans. But if you have a Peloton vine, it's going to be so prolific that you're never going to be able to give all those Pelotons away. People who have folks growing Pelotons in their neighborhood often find grocery bags filled with those pale green Pelotons sitting on their doorstep. So let me see. How does this taste? It's really good. You know, all that I'm missing. It needs no salt. It needs no spice. It's just spicy enough without being too hot. Just a little taste of it on the tongue. The only thing I'm missing is a piece of real New Orleans French bread, because I'm going to want to sop up every yummy bit of this beautiful sauce. So let us finish this. And here we go. And I'm going to put the shrimp. Oh my gosh. So that trout pecan was kind of lovely, but let me tell you what, this catfish, rather not trout, this catfish pecan etouffee is about the prettiest thing I've ever seen. And if you've cooked both of these dishes tonight, like I have, look how beautiful that is. Holy moly. I have to admit that I think that what we should do is just make this a little more perfect by putting some pecans on top. How could that be bad? Holy moly, this looks really good. And so there we go. That I think we have seriously explored the taste of Louisiana flavor tonight. Isn't that gorgeous? Oh my goodness, it's so pretty. It's shiny, it's savory, And I'm telling you, it is just magical that I do not have the slightest temptation to add any heat, any salt, any lemon juice. It's perfect, just like it is. And I hope all of you all agree with me. And I hope that you will listen to Louisiana Eats. After all, the reason we're here tonight is because my friends at Louisiana Fish Fry are our lead sponsor of Louisiana Eats, which is now in its 11th year. And, you know, I wrote a book of the same name. I didn't finish my last thing I had to say about the melitons, but if you happen to get a copy of Louisiana Eats, the book, in the book, you'll discover the story of Dr. Lance Hill, a Tulane professor who, after all the melitons in New Orleans drowned due to Hurricane Katrina, he set out to repopulate the city with melitons. And so the local meliton is back and better than ever, all thanks to Dr. Lance Hill. So I would love for y'all to stay in touch. I'm so easy to reach. I'm always accessible at poppytucker.com. Happy to send your recipes. And of course, we've got 11 years of radio, all available in pod and webcast form right there at poppytucker.com. Does anyone have any remarks, any questions? Is there anything that I can do for anybody before we call it a day so that you can eat your dinner while it's hot? I'm listening. Oh, well, thank you for being here with us tonight. It was so much fun. And, you know, we all learned something tonight because I can tell you what, this is one of the most pleasant surprises. This is one of the most pleasant surprises I have had in a very, very long time. And I'm so glad we got to have the adventure of the Louisiana Fish Fry Etouffee mix together. I can't wait till the next time to see what we're cooking up here next. Oh, somebody did their fish in the air fryer. Well, you know, that is another place that Louisiana Fish Fry is leading the pack. If you have an air fryer, if you're done with the oil in your kitchen, then there are incredible, let's see, I got one right here. Here is the air fryer seasoned coating mix. This is maximum crunch and all the flavor in no time at all, right out of your air fryer. How cool is that? And calories, it's only 70 calories per serving. What a deal that is. Yum. Well, I'm hoping everybody's dinner is good tonight. And I look forward to seeing y'all the next time for the next great fun. So we've got your email addresses, we've got your contact information, and we will certainly let you know. So, okay, everybody's unmuted. So if you got anything you want to say, I'm listening.
Thank you, Poppy. We love you.
Oh, I love you guys too.
Thank you,
Thanks
Ms.
for
Poppy.
spending.
Thank you.
Thank
Thanks
you.
for
I'll see you one day this week.
Good, I can't wait. Thanks for spending Friday evening here at home in my kitchen with me. And until the next time, y'all just keep cooking. And remember, if it's Louisiana Eats, it's guaranteed to be good. So thanks. And thanks to my friends at Louisiana Fish Fry who make all this possible. I'm so happy that they were here with us tonight. And I'm really thrilled the way they broadened my horizons. I'm an old fish fry girl from way back, but they taught me some stuff tonight. So thanks for joining me on this adventure. We'll see y'all the next time.
Good day.
Love you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye, y'all.
Bye.
Bye-bye, Poppy.
Bye, y'all. Thanks for being here.
Bye, Miss Poppy.
Bye. Okay.